Hey guys, welcome back to another video. As you can tell, it's gonna be a little bit different today. So today's actually technically not for you guys, or a little book club that I'm in. We're trying to decide what book to read next quite soon. So I am just gonna be going through a bunch, just kind of speeding through, and that way we can decide and figure out what book we want to read next. And this is just giving a bunch of ideas. Even though this video technically isn't for you guys today, still great to have you here. You guys can actually help persuade some of my friends to read some of these books specifically, so in the comments, so go ahead and shoot your shot if you'd like to. I'm gonna jump right into it. This is actually a duology, Six of Crows duology. That way it'll be easy and we can just do the two, it'll be done. But I mean, they are fairly chunky, but these are YA gothic fantasies. They really focus in on kind of the heist found family. There's so many books over here right now that I'm just gonna have to be thrown back on the floor because there's nowhere else to put them. Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist that could make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as a wraith, a heartrender using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapades. Kaz's crew are the only ones who might stand between the world and destruction if they don't kill each other first. Pretty well loved series. I haven't really gotten to it. I've actually read the prequel trilogy, Shadow and Bone trilogy, and that was pretty good. I think Six of Crows is gonna be better. And I just threw a bunch of random things in here, so we have The Wealth of Nations. I've wanted to read this for like a while, but this strikes me as something that, I don't want to say names, but I think you know who possibly has read this. I don't know if we'll read this or not, but I think this is my mom's copy from like college. That one would be pretty fascinating to read about. I have all sorts of different genres in here, but Billy Summers by Stephen King. This is about, I believe, a hitman who needs more money to officially retire. So, of course, one last heist, and everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Stephen King normally does write a lot of horror, but he does have a lot of non-horror or mystery or even some fantasy books. So this one, chances are, if you're a target of Billy Summers' two immutable truths apply, you'll never even know what hit you, and you're really getting what you deserve. He's a killer for hire and the best in the business. But it'll do the job only if the assignment is a truly bad person. But now time is catching up with him, and Billy wants out. Before he can do that, though, there's one last hit, which promises a generous payday at the end of the line, even as things don't seem quite on the level here. Given that Billy is among the most talented snipers in the world, a decorated Iraq war vet, and a virtual Houdini when it comes to vanishing after the job is done, what could possibly go wrong? How about everything? Part war story and part love letter to small town America and the people who live there, this spectacular thriller of luck, fate, and love will grip readers with its electrifying narrative and complex anti-hero with one last shot at redemption must avenge the crimes of an extraordinarily evil man. You won't ever forget this stunning novel for the master storyteller Stephen King, and you will never forget Billy. I'm trying not to wreck my books, but it's hard. Okay, now this is a YA mystery suspense kind of thriller. So this is actually a series of 4 books, basically about the FBI recruiting a bunch of teenagers with special abilities. 17-year-old Cassie Hobbs is a natural at reading people, piecing together the tiniest details. She can tell you who they are and what they want, but it's not a skill that she's ever taken seriously. That is until the FBI comes knocking. They've begun a classified program that uses exceptional teenagers to crack infamous cold cases, and they need Cassie. What Cassie doesn't realize is that there's more at risk than a few unsolved homicides, especially when she's sent to live with a group of teens whose gifts are as unusual as her own. Soon it becomes clear that no one in the Naturals program is what they seem, and when a new killer strikes, danger looms close. Caught in a lethal game of cat and mouse with a killer, the Naturals are going to have to use all their gifts just to survive. The Naturals. Next, we have Scythe This is another YA dystopian. The series goes on for a little while, if I'm remembering correctly. A world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things and has even conquered death. Now scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequence of failure could mean losing their own. They learn living in a perfect world comes only with a heavy price. Prince Honor book, Scythe, is a debut of a thrilling new series by National Book Award winning author Neil Shusterman. So we have that one. Okay, so this one is literary fiction. So this is The Ministry of Time. This was a pretty popular book last year. And because it's literary fiction, it really delves into a lot of different genres, and it kind of generally genre bends. I'm just going to go ahead and read the synopsis because it's a little bit hard to kind of summarize considering that. Ingeniously imagined, hilarious romp through time, space, and the human heart that announces an exhilarating new voice in contemporary fiction. In the near future, a civil servant is offered a salary of her dreams to work on a top-secret project. A recently established government ministry is gathering expats from across history to establish whether time travel is feasible for the human body, but also for the fabric of space-time. She is tasked with working as a bridge, living with, assisting, and monitoring the expat known as 1847, or Commander Graham Gore. As far as history is concerned, Commander Gore died on Sir John Franklin's doomed 1845 expedition to the Arctic. So he's a little disoriented to be living with an unmarried woman who regularly shows her calves, surrounded by outlandish concepts such as washing machines, Spotify, and the collapse of the British Empire. But with an appetite for discovery, a 7-a-day cigarette habit, and the supporting of a charming and chaotic cast of fellow expats, he soon adjusts. Over the next year, what begins as an excruciatingly uncomfortable housemate dynamic evolves into something much deeper. By the time the true shape of the ministry's project comes to light, the bridge has fallen haphazardly, fervently in love with the consequences she never could have imagined. Forced to confront the choices that brought them together, the bridge must finally reckon with what she does next can change the future. An exquisitely original and feverishly fun fusion of genres and ideas, The Ministry of Time asks, what does it mean to defy history when history is living in your house? Haley-Ann Bradley's answer is a blazing, unforgettable testament to what we owe each other in a changing world. So, we have that one. The Poppy War. Now this is, I think this is like new adult. It's kind of sort of between young adult and possibly adult. But this is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, very well-known author. When war orphan Rin aced the Kenju, the empire-wide test to find the most talented youth to learn at the academics, she surprised everyone, test officials, the guardians who wanted to marry her off and further their criminal enterprise, and even herself. But being a dark-skinned peasant girl from the south is not easy at Seingard, the most elite military school in Nikan. Targeted by rival classmates for her color, poverty, and gender, Rin discovers that gods long thought dead are very much alive and that she possesses a lethal, unearthly power and aptitude for the nearly mythical art of shamanism that could be the weapon the Empire desperately needs. While Nikara is at peace, its enemy and former occupiers, the Federation of Mugen, bids its time. And a third Poppy War is just a spark away. Rin's shamanic powers may be the only way to save her people, yet as she discovers more about the god that has chosen her, the vengeful phoenix, she fears that winning the war may cost her humanity, and it may already be too late. And this one is a trilogy. How many pages is this one specifically? This one's about 500 pages. So this is a thriller. This is one I wanted to read for a while. I've heard amazing things about this book, amazing things about this author. He's written some really great books from what I've heard. This is a psychological thriller called Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. The synopsis says, are you happy with your life? Those are the last words Jason Desson hears before the kidnapper knocks him unconscious, before he awakens to find himself strapped to a gurney surrounded by strangers in hazmat suits. Before a man he's never met smiles down at him and says, welcome back, my friend. In this world he's woken up to, Jason's life is not the one he knows. His wife is not his wife. His son was never born. And Jason is not an ordinary college professor, but a celebrated genius who has achieved something remarkable, something impossible. Is it this life or the other? That's the dream. And even if the home he remembers is real, how will Jason make it back to the family he loves? From the author of the best-selling Wayward Pines trilogy, Dark Matter is a mind-bending thriller about choices, paths not taken, and how far we'll go to claim the lives we dream of. So that synopsis kind of gives you a little bit of an idea, but also really doesn't give you any information at all. And that's generally how his synopsises work, because they go in a bunch of different directions that you don't even think that they're going to go in. So there's not really anything you can specifically expect from these psychological thrillers of his specifically. But yeah, that's Dark Matter. This one's not too long. It's like less than 350 pages. We have a couple nonfiction. So there's this one I've had for a while. Really wanted to read this one. Out of the Comfort Zone by Ray Comfort. Most of us have our own comfort zone, the place where we feel safe and satisfied. However, circumstances often drive us out from that area in which we feel most comfortable. Such was the case when Ray Comfort found himself being taken 7,000 miles from his homeland in New Zealand to speak to the daunting residents of the most dangerous part of Los Angeles, California. MacArthur Park was infamous for being the home of murderers, addicts, thieves. At times, this fast-moving and true-life drama will make your hair stand out on end as you enter the dark side of the supernatural. It will also encourage you to lift your faith as you learn how a celebrated Hollywood actor teamed up with Ray Comfort to bring an amazing message to America. So from basically how I learned about this book is specifically because it has a lot of near-death testimonies. We have that one, and then there's another nonfiction, Surprised by Joy by C.S. Lewis. This one I believe is more of his testimony. Very interested to dive into this. In Surprised by Joy, C.S. Lewis shares his enthralling spiritual journey through his early life, chronicling his conversion to the Christian faith. When we set out, I did not believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and when we reached the zoo, I did. It was like when a man after a long sleep, lying motionless in bed, becomes aware that he is now awake. Lewis starts with his childhood in Belfast, then describes his boarding school years and his youthful atheism in England, moves to his experience in World War I, and ends in Oxford. Through it all, Lewis explores his lifelong search for joy and its role in pointing him toward God. So yeah, and then that one's not too long. I think this one's only like 250. This one is a chunkier one. I only have it in this copy, in this mass market paperback copy, so I don't know how many pages it is in actuality, but in this copy, it's something like just shy of 1,000 pages. This is Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth. This is a very well-known book that I didn't learn about until very recently, actually, when my grandma was talking about it. And then I was seeing it popping up kind of everywhere. This is a very well-known book that I just had never really heard of. It kind of genre bends as well, I believe. I don't know if there's a synopsis in here, to be honest. I may have to just make you guys do your own homework. It's a historical thriller, sort of. Okay. Enormous and brilliant, a great epic tale crammed with characters unbelievably alive across the great gulf of centuries. Touches all human emotion, love and hate, loyalty and treachery, hope and despair. See for yourself. This is truly a novel to get lost in and one of the marvels of the publishing year. 1990-ish, first printing. We have that one. No idea how many pages that is in actuality. We have a chunky one. I don't think we're going to read this, but putting this in here anyway because one of us wanted to read this one. It is really, really big though, so I'm not sure that all of this is going to take like the rest of the year. As far as like the pace we're doing with book club, that's it's going to be a while. So this is like 1,200 pages, I believe. There's that as an option. I don't really have to say much about this. We all know what it is. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is actually a trilogy that's kind of having a resurgence right now that V.E. Schwab is becoming a little bit more popular, a little more well-known. The series is having a resurgence, and everybody's like, why are they talking about all those other books? These books are really good. Enter #1 New York Times bestselling author V.E. Schwab's beloved Shades of Magic trilogy, a dazzling world of parallel Londons where magic thrives, starves, or lies forgotten, and where power can destroy just as quickly as it can create. So this is a urban fantasy, I'm pretty sure. Kel is one of the last Antari magicians with a rare, coveted ability to travel between parallel Londons, red, gray, white, and once upon a time, black. Kel was raised in Arnez, not sure if I'm saying that right, Red London, and officially serves the Maresh Empire as an ambassador traveling between the frequent bloody regime changes in White London and the court of George III in the dullest of Londons, the one without any magic left to see. Unofficially, Kel is a smuggler, servicing people willing to pay for even the smallest glimpses of a world they'll never see. It's a defiant hobby with dangerous consequences, which Kel is now seeing firsthand. After an exchange goes awry, Kel escapes to Grey London and runs into Delilah Bard, a cut purse with lofty aspirations. She first robs him, then saves him from a deadly enemy, and finally forces Kel to spirit her to another world for a proper adventure. Now perilous magic is afoot and treachery lurks at every turn. To save all of the worlds, they'll first need to stay alive. I'm excited about this one. This one could be a great choice. This one's about 400 pages. They definitely get thicker as it goes along. Okay, I was just grabbing for a bunch of book options. So there's Outbound Flight by Timothy Zahn. Timothy Zahn also wrote the Thrawn trilogy. The Clone Wars have yet to erupt when Jedi Master Joruus C'baoth petitions the Senate for support of an ambitious mission to contact intelligent life and colonize undiscovered worlds beyond the known galaxy, but government bureaucracy threatens to scuttle the expedition before it can even start, until Master C'baoth foils a murderous conspiracy plot, winning him the political capital he needs to set in motion the dream of outbound flight. Or so it would seem. The evil Sith Lord Darth Sidious has his own interests in outbound flight, yet even he is not the mission's most dangerous challenge. Once underway, the starship crosses paths with the forces of the alien Chiss Ascendancy and the brilliant mastermind known as Thrawn. Thus, what begins as a peaceful Jedi mission is violently transformed into an all-out war for survival. Haven't seen C'baoth in a long time, so that'd be interesting. This is the older copy. Usually it would be in a copy kind of like the Legends collection. My sister thrifted this one, so I have this copy. Not super long, even in the mass market paperback. And then you saw a little bit of a peek of another one. So there's Darth Plagueis. That's another option. I've heard amazing things about this one specifically. Darth Plagueis, one of the most brilliant Sith Lords who ever lived, possessing power is all he desires. Losing it is the only thing he fears. As an apprentice, he embraces the ruthless ways of the Sith. When the time is right, he destroys his master and vows never to suffer the same fate. For like no other disciple of the dark side, Darth Plagueis learns to command the ultimate power over life and death. Darth Sidious, Plagueis' chosen apprentice under the guidance of his master, he secretly studies the ways of the Sith, while publicly rising to power in the galactic government, first as a senator, then as a chancellor, and eventually as emperor. Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious, master and acolyte, target the galaxy for dominion and the Jedi Order for annihilation. But can they defy the merciless Sith tradition, or will the desire of one to rule supreme and the dream of the other to live forever sow the seeds of their destruction? This one has been sitting on my shelf for quite a while. This one I just grabbed recently, but another fun option. This one's a little bit shorter as well. So Darth Maul, Shadowhunter, The Brothers Karamazov. I've wanted to read this one for a while. Again, that's a thick one. I don't think we're going to be doing that, but this one's very interesting because it is actually a mystery. It's an older mystery by Dostoevsky, but it tackles a lot in regards to theology, which is very interesting. That and just overall morality through these characters and through everything that happens in this book and everything we figure out. This one's basically 1,000 pages. And then, of course, the obvious choice for the next book, we could obviously just go straight into Golden Sun because we've been reading Red Rising. This one's only going to be about 400 pages. Not bad. I loved this book. That way, I can pick up with the rest of you guys in Morning Star. But we can do that. That would work just fine. But yeah, this video is long. I need some water. I'm sure we're going to come up with a bunch of different book recommendations for what we can possibly choose next, but I thought I'd go over a bunch of options and just rapid fire. But yeah, if any of you viewers on YouTube are still here, which is kind of funny, yeah, well, thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.